So one of the things, Anand, that a lot of our entrepreneur community, mostly the aspiring entrepreneurs, they're dealing with is to have a flow of business ideas and how to finalize on one. So based on your experience, how does one go about selecting a business idea of the five or six that they're thinking about?
When you do a business, the key, most important thing in a business is to have customers. So, when you are trying to build a new business, essentially you want to look at what is the business problem that is to be solved, and then you want to find an effective way for building something or building a business that the customers will buy. So, at the end of it, it's about trying to ascertain the market, identify what the requirements in the market are, what does the customers need, and how does one provide that very specifically and in a focused manner. And even if you're a small business and you may be doing a tailoring shop or a photographer business or a beauty salon or any of these things, it's very important to have a clear understanding of the kinds of customers who are going to come to you and why they will come to you. So being focused and very clear about your positioning of the business will give you much better sense of where you should sell, how should you sell, and how do you get to the right customers to come and buy. Business happens when customers buy. So that's really what is the key to making a business work.
So when you started Persistent, it was a small business. You faced certain challenges at that time. So if a deAsra Foundation were there at that time, what kind of support would you have gotten from a deAsra Foundation?
No, so I think, of course, when I started the business, that was in 1990, the situation at that time was very different from what it is today. More specifically for our business at Persistent, the whole the travel customers, we were all doing US-based business. There were certain laws which were very export-oriented, and there were benefits for being an export-oriented company, but there were no benefits for doing the India-related business. So, finding the market was always a big challenge for companies like us. And, that was always the difficult part. How do you find customers? How do you convince them that they can do work out of India? And that whole concept was very new. The second thing, of course, was funding, which was always a big challenge at that time as well. And getting loans from the banks or those kinds of things were not that easy to get to. The venture capitalists as well did not really invest in India-based services companies at that time. So that option didn't really exist. So it was dependent on bank loans and other loans that you could get from businesses of that kind. And banks were also did not understand this business very well. So they were always very not sure about what is happening and what are your assets and all that was always a little bit of an issue. And during those periods, I think the compliance requirements that we had in our country were really, really crazy. And there was a lot of time spent in just being compliant. So that was one other thing that I thought was very difficult at that time. You fast forward to some of our businesses, I think some of the challenges that I shared about at Persistent 20 or 30 years back probably are still true in this context, but in a slightly different way. Since these businesses are much smaller and they're thinking in a different way, yes, they need bank loans and funding. Again, banks don't understand small businesses too well, and they still don't. And then, of course, you have the other requirements of how do I find customers. So the kinds of customers that I was looking for B2B type customers. There you're looking for many consumer type customers. And the way you acquire these customers is starting to become very different and unique, and there are new things that are happening. And also compliance still, while simplified, is still a lot of work right now.
So Anand, you spoke about deeper engagement with an entrepreneur's business and being able to work at a deeper level with an entrepreneur. So what are some of the methods that you think might work to make this happen?
So as you know, the journey of the deAsra Foundation, we started out by creating this business in a box concept where we said, okay, we put everything together for a business that they need end to end, every single thing they need. And while I think we did a pretty good job of looking at about 75 different businesses, we found that some of these businesses don't really start with a plan, they just tend to happen. So it's not like that easy for them to come and pick a business at a time and then study the whole thing and then start. So, and also what we had created was useful to many businesses. So we opened it up. Now any service you want, you can come pick a service and go. as we start to see more and more businesses coming back for multiple services, I think there is an opportunity to provide a much richer experience by getting people to consume related services as a package rather than as a individual service. And I think one of the things that we should look at very hard is to say what does it mean to provide like a full package of services that are of related things that we provide them. One of the ways to look at that may be to collect a subscription or create a model where we provide guarantees of services and quality of service while being able to get the engagement to happen with the businesses. So I think 3.0 of deAsra, I would say, should be more about how do we build deeper engagements, and subscription is one way to make that happen.
So, as a business starts growing from a small business and starts scaling to a more larger business,
Right.
Are there different challenges that you think they would face, and how does one address those?
Yes, as businesses tend to grow, right, the kinds of things that they need to do will change, and it's sort of important for businesses to evolve as they keep growing. One of the biggest challenges that small businesses have when they start to grow is management bandwidth. So the whole premise of a small business is based on the entrepreneur or the founder driving a whole set of activities around them. And they're not necessarily the best people at managing teams or managing other people who work with them. So how do you scale? How do you add more people? How do you get more people to work together with you? Those are challenges that I think small businesses have to learn to get to that point so that they can scale their business. The second, of course, challenge that comes in is the whole how do you get more customers in a consistent way? Many of these businesses, when you start out, you get customers somehow by chance, in a sense. Right? You do certain things and you get a few customers, and they tell other people and you get them. But are you able to build a sustainable sales marketing model where you can get predictable customers on an ongoing basis? That is a need that the businesses that are trying to scale need to have. And that requires some, defining processes, creating some tech and systems to track all of those kinds of things so that you are able to be more predictable about the sales requirements that you have and the plan you have for booking orders, executing on orders, executing quality of orders. And then in most of the businesses that we are supporting, they tend to be very service-oriented businesses. So quality of service that you provide starts to become very critical. And a lot of these businesses are dependent on reputation and what kind of ratings you get on various kinds of forums. So quality of service becomes an issue. And a lot of these things, when you start your small business, the founder has a great influence on all of these things. But as the business scales, where you have multiple offices, multiple branches, how do you retain that culture across all these kinds of diversity and growth becomes tricky things for people to businesses to work on. Again, every large business that we see today has been small at some time. So it's not like this is not a problem that people have not solved. Right? All businesses have been small at one time, and they have figured out how to grow. And we see enough large businesses. So, while there are things to do, it's not something that's impossible to do. And I think businesses should look at the fact that this has been done before and there's a process. There are certain things you have to be careful about and certain things you must do deliberately early on so that you are ready to scale and you can scale. But the scaling is an ongoing challenge. Every level of scale requires new sets of things to do, and every time it's more work, more challenges, and more fun.
Great. Thank you for your time, Anand, and we will continue to have these conversations over the next couple of videos.